Hi, my name is Phani Katakam. I have 24 years of experience in web development. I have done a lot of VBASP, also initial legacy, since 2000. I wrote code for justdial.com for almost 6 months. And then I moved to US in 2000. I worked in Bear Stearns, Priceline.com, one of the best companies at the time for web applications. They were doing online bidding, Priceline.com's air tickets, and Bear Stearns is very famous for investment brokerage service. So I worked production support of Priceline.com. That's where I learned a lot of enterprise level infrastructure, also application architecture. At that time, I was able to revisit their look at understand their architecture, not like writing. We were only supporting. But then I moved on to investment brokerage service, Bear Stearns. I wrote internal business applications with VBA, COM. This is a story of 2000. In 2001, and also after that 9 by 11, we came out of here from US to India. I worked in Virtusa 2002 onwards. Virtusa, though it's a services company, I worked with some great products like Aprimo Professional Services, Bank One Entitlements. These two are, though they are projects from the services company, they are more of products by its nature. Bank One, for example, they used to have complex .NET framework architecture, .NET framework reusable components at those times on the front end, not like JavaScript, but more of a ASP.NET web forms. And also marketing resource management tool, Aprimo. Aprimo is a very famous product on professional services front. It helps to set up marketing resource management for a company, but it's more of customization. So we don't generally, Aprimo does not change their base product. They always add up extensions. So that's the first time I revisited, rather came across those architecture, metadata driven architectures. And those architectures are scalable, customizable, or tailorable to the product, to the client's requirements without changing the very big base product code. That was something challenging, interesting. So that's where I got my flair for architecture after working as a senior developer, senior software engineer in Marchusa, 2006. Again, I stepped out of India. This time my personal version was upgraded version with family. I went to US. I worked in Fort Worth. I worked in Bellevue, Microsoft Redmond for almost 1 year. I worked as a consultant in Redmond. Again, that was not a very interesting product, but more of a working in Microsoft, chasing their interview lines itself is a challenge thing, and surviving as a H1B consultant. Again, in 2008, I came back to India for good. Thereby, I had my two children who were very much Indianized. So we don't want to go back to America again. So we raised our kids, and now 2008 to fast forward to 2020, 24, 25. It's almost 17 years. My teen kids are finishing their graduation. Finishing the 10 plus 2 and entering into graduation. But meanwhile, I worked in services company again in India, like Wells Fargo. Some of the startups, I didn't mind to work on startups companies. The reason being, some companies have very good products, very good challenging ideas. For example, I worked with a company called Adya Wi-Fi Metering, just a short stint, but we wrote code for prepaid meters, electricity meters. We were showing those prepaid electricity meters on the Azure web, Azure platform, but Angular being our initial web structure, web UI. So we were also looking at their feeders, their all the embedded platform elements and their liveness, how far that's being live, how when was the last communication happened. So all that is an interesting data we captured and able to show up to the consumer or possibly the administrators of those feeders also. So that is one interesting project. And similarly, there was some logistics project which were doing some in seaport. We were trying to catch up the how much time a vehicle has entered one geofence to other geofence. Thereby, you raise an invoice how much time they took for parking or similar nature until it gets downloaded and then gets released by the port. So those are very much done on Azure with a lot of data, a lot of incessant data, and which is showing up in cloud, and we're able to queue it up and try to pass it, process it and stuff. So the good or sensible rework on product is again came out in 2013 or 14. Inroad is a motor industry company. 2.5 years I worked in there. We have renovated monolithic application to completely modernized, possibly modernized application. So that modernization is not just direct modernization, it is more of maintaining old one and also creating the new product. That means we need to support the old one, go through the old one, and also the possibly build the slowly structure by structure. We separate them and keep it like a strangler systems. So those kind of migrations from one version to modernization and later 2016 onwards, I've done similar projects, but migration from on-premise to cloud on Azure mostly, a bit of AWS also. So I've done 12 years of architecture, application, data, architectural pursuits, and rebuilding products from on-premise to migrate to cloud, and also build natively in cloud. So last 6 years I'm a TOGAF certified architect. So I've also done some enterprise architectural pursuits, which are more of application rationalization, looking into the portfolio of an enterprise. What are their business roadmaps? How do we map our architectures to the roadmap? What are the gaps? Identify the gaps and build those target milestone architecture so that we reach to the target architecture. So that kind of assignments were also done in an EA role, enterprise architect role, but everything boils down to any EA assignment eventually boils down to solution architecturing and to the delivery part. So I've been into the hands-on .NET Core C# for almost 2016 to 2025, so roughly 6 to 7 years on Azure AWS platforms. I've also done data governance and data pipelines and general data cleanup and data architectural style as modeling, remodeling. So more of application and data. I'm an application and data cloud architect, I can say, but not into infra, except some small size on ADAC based environments I can pick up. So that's been my journey of 24 years of web development with mostly Microsoft, but ADAC based. I've also developed microservices with Azure Service Bus or any bus broker services. and trying to also write some poly language microservices, which mean um, Python is one such, or Java based microservices, not into UI, but more of a background microservices I wrote with Python and Java, Node and TypeScript too. So these are general on attack based uh, languages I worked on, major being the .NET Core, C Sharp. Hope that sums up my experience. I've done pre-sales also. I have done mentoring. I've maintained the teams. Uh, in Tech Mahindra, I've built one, again, similar migration document management system of Thomson Reuters, almost 1.5 year, from very much legacy to latest modern that at that time. So we have taken phase wise and again strangler patterns to shift, lift, and shift, and develop natively, slowly understand the product. Meanwhile, while developing that, thereby because there was no much documentation or no support from business except some standard guidelines and documentation. Depth of the product is understood by building, separating their core modular APIs, reinventing them, rebuilding them. That's how we learned out their business, and also put up how do we make it cloud enabled and how do we empower their systems. So that's been my story. Hope you liked it. Thank you. Nice meeting you. So I'll try to stop the recording.